The real issues of today. So there are some, obviously. All sciences are designed to take us away from God. That's a real issue of the day. Right? I just did a ranty, really video that I didn't like doing. About all the stupid things that you guys talk about that you think are issues. And you go, oh, we're so woke. I'm so woke that I think I should have a spot of tea. We're all awakening together here on this earth. We're almost a third of the way there. Well, real issues. If you want to talk about saving the earth, first off, why wouldn't you talk about clean, free, renewable energy like water cars and Tesla coils? There's a real issue. The first water car was made the same year as the first internal combustion engine. They were invented together, side by side. And they just went with fuel because water's too easy to get. You realize that, right? Like, can I shake you? So, and then with electricity, we're burning coal or we're mining cobalt for solar and all these other things. We could burn water and make clean water. Right? If you were burning water in like a huge plant, you could suck it out of a river, burn it to make fuel, capture the exhaust, put it right back into the river system as clean water. Or put it into the city as clean drinking water without a bunch of chemicals. All the chemicals in your fucking food and drinking water. There's another problem. And then you talk about your health and how you don't have any control. I can't control my own health. We don't have control over it. We can like choose to not eat McDonald's and go eat from a grocery store, but it's not like a good choice. It's so full of fucking chemical and shit and preservatives and fucking trash. The school system, that's a huge one, right? You guys are fighting over whether or not they can teach homosexuality to children when you should be arguing over whether they should teach children that they're monkeys and bugs and that they didn't come from God, that they came from soup. Don't you see how that none of the other small problems could possibly exist if you fucking went to the root of the problem. Right? If you knew you were from God and He's right there watching you, you'd behave a certain way and treat fellow man a certain way and treat other animals a certain way. You'd treat all of life a certain way, knowing the truth. Or we can keep these lies, misrepresentations, and get people to believe that they're fucking nothing more than a fucking cockroach. And actually you're less than a cockroach because they'll last longer than you on the planet. So you're not even a cockroach. Right? And the most evolved thing would be a fern because it's got the most chromosomes. Look, I'm still angry with you for believing this stuff. Sorry. I don't mean to be angry with you. No, and I'm not sorry. I keep doing that. Thank you for bearing with me through these videos of my aggression on these subjects. I just can't help it. You have no idea how frustrating it is to watch you guys argue and bicker and fight over nothing. Constantly. And the real issues over here on the shelf never even spoke about. We can't talk about that. My teachers told me in school to never talk about that. That can't be real. My teachers told me in school. I'm sorry, but your teachers in school were mostly picked fools. The odd one gets through the cracks who's a good teacher, but if they overstep the line teaching truth, they quickly get fired. That's what happened to my grade 5 teacher. He works at a grocery store now, stocking shelves instead of teaching, because he was religious. He was a Christian. And he would talk about Christianity in class. I don't know. I don't know what to say to you guys about any more of this stuff. Other real issues. That's what I'm trying to focus on. Obviously, that teaching thing, the teachers, the school system, the sciences are full of misrepresentations and I don't even know what to call their evidence because it's not evidence. It's non-substantiated evidence that for the most part doesn't even exist. Or if it does, it's like 1, 2 times it's happened in all of history that we found it. And then they're like, oh, well, this whole theory. I'll build a whole man from his toe. You know, he had a deformed toe. Well, the whole guy must have been deformed. Here's his wife. Deformed too. Or he just had a deformed toe. Might have broke it a couple times. It was fucking weird. How do you know? You don't. You're just drawing at straws. Age of the earth, all that kind of stuff. It's all the evidence isn't real evidence. I argue this with geologists. So when you guys come at me and say, "Oh, you don't have any education," or what, and I'm talking to people who, trying to talk to the people who can actually understand this stuff, who are already going down this path, and maybe you didn't realize how much lies there was in the actual school system. Like, you're realizing that there was lies there, but a lot of us have no idea how much. Like, it's full. Everything that goes to their science, to the heliocentrism, is a lie. Any little scrap of evidence is a bull-faced lie, misrepresentation. Sorry, that's what they call it. So I gotta try to explain to you over and over to hopefully hit you on the right videos and catch the right people who need to hear this to solidify in their own mind that they're right, that everything that they're thinking and that they're seeing and all this other stuff, it's right. Don't worry, you're correct, right? But then I get these dummies from other channels and things who think that you're going to come at me and say, "Oh, the Earth's not flat," or whatever in the comments and stuff. You are what you believe to some extent, right? So, like, somebody who's convinced themselves that they're transgender is going to be as close to that as they can, right? And you've convinced yourself that you're a monkey. And I'll tell you, you're really fucking close. There's some smart monkeys out there, though, so you're not that close. You're a little lower than a monkey, maybe, you know, the next step down in the evolutionary track. Right? You're not an ape. You're more of a monkey, I guess. That's what I'm getting at. You're certainly no gorilla, you know. And then you're going to come and try to argue with a human who's educated. And it's like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Go lay down. Be quiet. Good boy. That's what you're like, right? You're barking dogs. You didn't get proper training. You didn't get your discipline that you needed, or whatever. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Little yappers. I thank God for you. Really, I do. I think that you're... Little yapping dogs get lots of attention. Everybody's watching them, because you never know when they're going to bite, right? Because they're so scared they could do anything. They're volatile. And they never shut the fuck up, so you want to punt them into the next room or whatever. And so based on that, they get a lot of attention. So, yip and yap and go on. It's good for the goose, good for the gander. So thank you. Anyway, I hope that I found an awake soul this morning in one of my videos, and that maybe you stop stopping in for a spot of tea and start waking up to reality. If you're talking about low things that are on the news and you think that that's something, you're wrong. Right? If you're talking about whatever the latest stupid thing is, Will Smith or whatever, You're on the wrong channel. You're not awake. You're still sleeping. Unless they're like mentioning to say that it's nothing. Stop paying attention to it. You're falling for the game. Don't look. Right? All the way back to 9/11. And right through all the big ones. All the George Floyds and all that stuff. All the big ones. If you're talking about them big ones, in any frame of them being somebody else or whatever, right? Unless you're saying things that would get you kicked off of YouTube. You're not awake. You're pushing a narrative that they need pushed to divide people and make them hate each other. That's the whole thing, right? If you can keep them all fighting about stupid shit, then they'll never fight about what you're doing. They're not even going to pay attention to what's going on up here because they're so mesmerized with all this little shit that's going on down here. So if you're still mesmerized by all this shit, don't call yourself the woke channel or whatever. You're starting. At least there's some progression, right? It's just if there's 5 million people or 10 million people who can understand your message and absorb it, chances are your message is at a low level. Right? Because most people aren't going to understand anything that I say. Even woke people. They're just going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, that can't be. You can't have, and see, that's where I need the better tech. Because I could show you quotes from other guys who clearly say, like politicians and things, like ex-presidents, who say that the whole country is run by a few men who are never voted for or elected, but are just the power. They are the power. You're so low. If you gotta get up there. These guys, and it doesn't take half of academia to be corrupt, or all of it, or whatever. No, most of those people are fooled. And then the odd ones that figure it out are either killed or their careers killed. Right? Politicians are all blackmailed. Geologists die every day for investigating the wrong shit. People retire and then come out with their stories all the time of how going through academia they had to tote these lines in order to keep a career. And now that they were retired and couldn't be touched anymore, they could somewhat talk about some of the things, but they're still under contract and not talk about a specific discovery. But they can say, I've made tons of discovery that you guys are never going to see or even allowed to talk about. I can't even talk to you about those discoveries because I'm under a contract for the rest of my life that they belong to the powers that be. And you guys have no right to know it. That's all just fact. You can just go look that shit up. but you won't. Some of yous. Because it would hurt you too much, I guess. Hurt you too much, I guess. You just... You're locked in to that way of thinking. And in order to change it, you'd have to change your whole lives. And most of you just aren't willing to change your lives. I was lucky enough that when I was a little kid, I said that your system was broken and it was flawed and it was going to die. Right? And I said, there's no point. And everybody would say, oh, you got to worry about retirement and you got to think of it and blah, 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 all these things. And I'd say, no, there's no point in any of that. It's all going to be, it's all built into like a house of mirrors or whatever, the glass house, it's going to fall down. And, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Go to school, do this, do that, blah, 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 my whole life, right? And pushed my way through. Eventually, I did agree with them in my 20s or whatever. I was like, okay, maybe they're right. I was wrong, sure. And then 9/11 started to go off and all these other things. And I was like, no, yeah, maybe I was right. And I think I was. But I was lucky enough to have that knowledge. The Most High blessed me with it. Just some little inkling in my heart or my mind that just said no. Oh, goodbye, everybody. Love yous.